low key. Niggas hating cause they don't want no beef. State gang, true sippers, bitch, I bet we don't eat.
Don't take a hallelujah. That's about everybody. We've been showing the song a lot. Just make a man about it. This is called Tell Her Never Do.
If you handle your business right, I'ma promote your ass. You bitch out and try to kite, I'ma come smoke your ass. The shit that I'm giving you, they drawing blood to get. The fix be running through because they love the shit. So don't come with that, no one would invite. The shit was cool. Niggas try to rob me, nobody was coming through. Snitches, I can't have that. Bitches, I can't have that. Riches, you can have that. Just bring me my cash back. Look, it's all gravy with me, go ahead and shine. That's how you play it with me, you're big time. All I want is the G's with a trunk full of keys. A Benz on 20s, you got something you can lend me. Shit, boys ain't doing nothing for me for free. Can't put no trust in you boys, cause y'all be trying to run G. Cause I don't like dreaming about making no cheese. Wanna see my motherfucking bank account OD. Until then, I'ma be thugging behind the project building, smoking that 5 with the ghetto children, plotting on a way that we can make $1 million. Yeah, I'ma be thugging behind the project building, smoking that 5 with the ghetto children, plotting on a way that we can make $1 million. Hey, now I'm on some shit again. Leave a hater stranded like Gilligan. Hundreds I'm considering, flexing for $1 million. Catch it, hater, I'm killing them. They stop, but I ain't feeling them. My jacket off appearing them. Some will say it's numerary, partners in vocifering. Juvenile is different. Look at what I did to them. Boys wearing Reeboks instead of Nikes and Timberlands. Bitch hitters, I'll be tipping them. My Mac 9, it be flipping them. Some of these haters is trying to run G, so I'll be gifting them. They will do the same to me. Boys ain't no family. Shit is all a game to me, but nobody gon' handle me. 400 degrees, toting guns, running with me. No wonder we need more money one could receive. Player wanna deal with this Christ, I'ma put it open in his life. Never should I fuck with me right. Why you keep ducking me shy? I'ma knock your head off. Boy, tryna get to your fuck, tryna play it off. You made the beat, pussy so wise, you scared. If you mind your fucking business, then your life would be spared. I can't see it. Pussy try to make me out a bitch, I can't be it. I had this motherfucker crow with hitters like Free Nick. You probably can save yourself, but you can't save your neighbors. When my 9 get to spinning around like a baseball player. Put on this potato on the end of my 9. Foolishness I entertain to keep these boys in line. Look, cause I don't like to dream about making no cheese. Cause I don't like to dream about making no cheese. Wanna see my motherfucking bank account OD. Until then, I'ma be thugging behind a project building, smoking that 5 with the ghetto children, plotting on a way that we can make $1 million. Yeah, I'ma be thugging behind a project building, smoking that 5 with the ghetto children, plotting on a way that we can make $1 million. Ask some boy about me, bet them bitches know me. Magnolia head buster out that wild TC. I'm a young hitter. Look at what you done, hitter. You done made me mad. Now I'm gonna get my gun, hitter. Better watch your tongue, hitter. Cause I'm getting dumb, hitter. Kill one hitter to represent where I'm from, hitter. 3 things you don't ever do. Fuck with a man, exchange or his mama. You do that, you want drama. Fuck with a big timer for sure. You gon' see I'm out you. Which one of you boys want me? I'ma keep it real with you. You say you the man, I know I'm the man, and I'm ready to deal with you. I'm prepared for the toe tagging. Keep my Reeboks strapped tight with my key ball sagging. Now I done rocked a couple
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm doing my best Lene Stacks impression. I normally, that's why I was late. I normally don't eat breakfast, but my stomach was hurting and shit. And I had to just like, I was like, somebody was like, your stomach hurt. Like, I felt like I was about to throw up if I didn't eat something. Strangely enough, I just took that one bite and I'm like damn near full already. But yeah, I'm here because Anton Daniels and Stephen A. Smith, they did an interview. Both of them are polarizing characters. Both of them have been having a fucked up month due to the internet. Jason Whitlock been on Stephen A. Smith ass, and everybody and their mama been on Anton Daniels ass. It's just crazy. They both needed this distraction. I don't agree with Stephen A. on a lot. I don't agree with Antoine Daniels on a lot. That's the main reason I'm watching this shit, because I don't really, it's not that I have anything against them. I just, what's the word? They characters. I'll just leave it at that. They're characters, but I don't dislike them, but I disagree with a lot of the shit they say.
Media platforms, known for his pop culture and conservative viewpoints. Please welcome for the first time the straight shooter, the one and only Anton Daniels. What's up, big time? How are you, man? How's everything?
What's going on, Mr.?
I hate men that sit there like this. I just hate it. It's something that don't sit right in my spirit when I just see Jason Whitlock sit there and play with his hands. What the fuck? You niggas nervous? He's sitting up there like he taking a photo for his senior years. Like, yes. It should look gay to me. But he just starting it off. Hey, how y'all doing? Hey, guy. I ain't hold y'all. When I first saw this nigga, I said zesty. He can show as many women as he want to. His mannerisms gives off zesty. I'm sorry.
Mr. Smith, how you doing?
Man, please, it's a pleasure to meet you, man. I've been looking forward to talking to you or whatever. First of all,
well, damn. I wasn't expecting that. What happened?
Here's what I want to do, because I respect where you're coming from. Even when you get on me, I'm going like this. Well, damn, he got a good point. He got a good point. It's no big. It's all love, brother. I'm good with it. Let me ask you this question. How would you describe yourself, particularly in this day and age? Are you a conservative? Or are you just a YouTuber? Are you a podcast? What would you say? What do you want the world to know you believe you are?
I wouldn't define my
Stephen, you can tell Stephen A. has a journalistic background to even answer that question. Most of us just already assume who the fuck who this nigga is, and we would just go straight in with the topics. Great build-up question.
myself as a conservative first. I would define myself as a saint first.
A saint?
A saint.
A saint? Well, you've already fallen short, nigga. You have already fallen short. You're not a goddamn saint. See, oh boy. These niggas is gonna use religion to cover up a lot of their bullshit. Like none of the actions this nigga does in his humanly body, and especially the shit he been doing the past month, resembles anything close to sainthood. But I guess we're in the era where you can identify with whatever the fuck you want to, and people have to just accept it.
Right? And it's a difference between a Christian and a saint. A saint is a person that believes every word in the word. Right? We don't differentiate. We don't pick and choose which part of the Bible we believe. Even if I'm not.
Okay, so how do you define adultery in the Bible, sir? How do you define it? You believe, okay, so the only thing to be a saint is you have to believe in every word of the Bible. You don't have to practice it. You just have to believe every word in the Bible. Okay, thanks for clarifying that. But what do you consider adultery, sir? Now, again, you in your personal life, how many hoes you have and you fuck, that's none of my business. I don't care. I don't judge you. But when you come in and say you living by this religious book, then I got to ask you about all the hoes you fucking. Because even in the Bible, all the hoes that the kings and the men was fucking, they were their wives. They weren't just random bitches. They had to marry these women to fuck with them. So, Mr. Saint, in your Christian view or your biblical view of Christianity, Mr. Saint, what do you define as adultery?
Perfect, or I'm not doing everything right. I define myself by my belief in God. That's first, above all. And then everything else comes after that, right? So I am conservative, which I used to be Democrat. I'm not going to say liberal, but I am a Republican. I'm a conservative Republican. I've been married since I was 22 years old.
The fact that you have to identify yourself as a particular party shows you're still not free. Why do you have to identify with one of the two choices? You could be neither, but cool.
So I've been married for
These the woke people. You got to choose a side. You got to. You got to. You got to. And y'all know how I feel about politics. I call niggas out on both sides. Republicans are no better than Democrats. They're not.
for the better part of 22 years. I'm a father. And then more importantly, I'm a bag chaser. So I'm always going to do the thing that adds value into people's lives, and I expect to be fair.
I'm a father, and more importantly, I'm a bag chaser. So being a bag chaser is more important than being a father. Okay, got it. Also, I don't like that term bag chaser, nigga. Like, nigga, you got that motherfucker, you don't. You chasing it. If you're chasing it, that means you ain't got it.
Really compensated
But the money ain't running away.
as a result of it.
You know, when you decided to support Trump in 2024, what was it about the MAGA movement that made you support it? Was it the fact that you are, as you described, or was this?
He could get money for it off the internet. How do I know? I did the same thing. I could go get a Trump hat from his first term. Y'all ain't seen me wear that motherfucker since his first term. It's for clicks and views.
Something different transpiring in 2024 that you saw compelled you to gravitate towards that?
Well, the first thing is I felt like the election was stolen from him in 2020. There's no way that anybody can convince me that Joe Biden is the most popular president of all time and he got over 81 million votes. I'm not going for it. The second thing is that I started to take a deeper look at my own life, right? Because especially as Black people in the community, we taught to automatically vote Democrat regardless because we Black, right?
Yeah.
But when I started to deep dive into things that Democrats stood for, it wasn't the fact that Republicans or Trump or MAGA first got my attention. The first thing that got my attention is the things that I didn't align with the party that I had been voting for based off of what my family told me to do, right? I don't believe in men and women's bathrooms. I don't believe in, a lot of the stuff, my dollars going.
So somebody in your family, I'm pulling a Lene, y'all. Y'all got to forgive me. Somebody in your family pulled you to the side and said, hey, look, when you start voting, vote Democrat. That's what we do, son. Black people always vote Democrat. If you were taught that, you were failed.
To the federal government and letting them manage my money more than I can. I believe in smaller government. I believe in spirituality. I believe in a lot of the things. And so when I started
See how religion and politics are passed down? You don't get to choose them. The adults in your life get to choose it for you, and you just follow it until you're old enough to make a decision on your own, whether or not it fits for you, but it's forced upon you.
to figure out, what are we doing? Why am I voting this way? I started to explore, what about Trump didn't I like? And I realized that it was more propaganda that was fed to me and that, he was supposedly be racist and all of this stuff. And then I started to evaluate every other president that came before him. And I realized that he's just a quote unquote straight shooter, right? I mean, he just tells it like it is, regardless of whether you agree with him or not. And most of the things that he said, I aligned with.
One of the things I want to push back on you on this notion about the 2020 election from this perspective.
I would say Donald Trump was refreshing for me because he was a normal, average citizen. Yes, he was rich off his business ventures and shit, but he had no background in politics. And that was refreshing because most of these people that become president, they grow up in politics. They make a career out of it. They already got people behind them. They got shit set up for them to be put in their position. He just came out of nowhere. We had seen Ross Perot do it several times. He never won, though. So it was refreshing to see an average person with no political background at all, just throw their name in there and win because we felt like we had a regular person like you and me in there and not a career politician. That's why I was refreshed by him. He getting on my goddamn nerves at this point. Just burnt out.
I believe that the election was legit, but not for the reasons one would think. I totally agree with you. I don't believe anywhere in hell 81 million people wanted Joe Biden to be president. But I do believe 81 million people wanted anybody but Donald Trump. So because of that, it makes it's because of that, it made it believable in terms of chaos, how much noise was being made. You know how people were like, you got people celebrating in the streets like, oh my God, we're finally freaking. You saw how exaggerative and how extra folks were when Trump was put out of office. So I'm saying that to me was emblematic of a large portion of America saying we wanted a break from all of that noise. That's why I believe the election was legit.
But okay, Stephen A. So let me push back at you a little bit.
Sure.
Why are Democrats so against voter ID?
Well, hold on. We ain't got to argue. You align with that. It don't make no. I'm not supporting. Listen, you got to have an ID for everything. They ain't,
right.
Please, I'm with you with that. I mean, I do think it was ridiculous, but I also pay attention to Senator Fetterman, who's been supported for the most part of the Republicans. When Fetterman said, quote, he said certain things about the SAFE Act are a bit extra. Yeah, you essentially got to have a passport, and it is more difficult to get ID, under these restrictions that they're putting out there than it was before. So I do believe that, but that doesn't mean that both sides.
You don't have to have a real-time ID now. The system has been so jammed up. They didn't say it, fuck it. If you don't have a real ID, we'll just charge you a fee and still allow you to fly. So they made all these Americans panic. They backlogged the DMV and shit for nothing to only tell you, well, if you ain't got the real ID, we know you said you couldn't fly or get into federal installations, but just pay us the cover charge and you good. That's where they're at with that now.
Can't come together and resolve that in a damn day. And for the Democrats to act like no ID should be required or whatever, like California and some of the stuff I learned about them and what they're doing under Gavin Newsom, that is utterly ridiculous. So you and I don't we ain't far off on that.
But that tells me though that they're fighting for it for a reason, and I don't believe it's because they really believe.
Yeah, that is a bit strange. Like, why don't you want people to show ID to vote, to prove that they are who they are and they're not stealing someone's identity to vote? We do know that identity theft is like at an all-time high now due to the internet, and you don't want people to show you any proof that they're who they say they are when they go in the booth.
Believe that people are being disenfranchised at the polls. I believe that they're fighting for it because they truly believe that it's going to affect whether or not they get elected and future elections. And I believe that the Democrats, their whole strategy, because as people get older and wiser, this is not even my opinion, this is a fact. Most people evolve to become more conservative, and then they sometimes, more often than not, deflect over and become a Republican, right? When you're younger, that's really a Democrat.
You getting older and wiser has nothing to do with your political views. You being conservative in nature should not equate to a fucking political party. What the fuck are we doing here? So you get old, as you get, this nigga just pretty much said, as you get old, you turn Republican. What the fuck?
This game is being, liberal, right? Because you don't know any better. But as people get older and wiser, they never defect from the Republican Party over to the Democrat Party. It's usually the other way around, right? What they have to do is they have to find new voters and support them. And I believe that the civil rights movement was hijacked by feminism. Feminism ultimately was hijacked by the LGBTQ movement, which Obama ushered in, and he solidified that. I believe that diversity, equity, and inclusion was ultimately the thing that they really leaned on in order to make sure that they had people in the voter rolls that not only
DEI has always been here, guys, under affirmative action. It's not new.
Only identified as Black, not only identified as Latino, not only identified based off of their sexuality, but they needed a whole new voter class. And I think that immigrants was definitely the play. And that's why they're fighting so hard against voter ID.
But I don't disagree with most of that. What I'm saying is we can point to things that the Republicans do, the conservatives do, to position themselves for the same thing. For example, when you're redistricting in Texas, for example, and other places, you're doing that because you want to position yourself to get most votes. This is politics. This is politics. Absolutely. So in other words, we can't hate on one side for coming up with a mechanism, you understand, to curry more votes in your favor.
We have to, Stephen A. And the reason that we have to is because...
Well, that's why the other side hates on you, because y'all just hate for no. It's pretty much just where if they doing something, we gotta hate, and if they doing something, we gotta hate. Man just was like, well, I ain't mad at the Democrats for doing what the fuck they got to do to try to get their position back. We got to call it out. Well, what do the Republicans do to try to get their position back, sir?
Because it's one thing to, you said it yourself. I can't even jump on an airplane unless they identify who I am. I can't get a place to stay. I can't get a car. I can't get anything. But I can determine who it is that makes the laws that ultimately govern us. Like if that isn't the thing that we need to protect more than anything else in our culture, in our society, I don't know what is. So we have to be vigilant to make sure that every vote is valid and every vote is counted. And we can't just let, mail-in ballots or people being able to, I say gaslight us and believe in that, this election is free and fair when it's not. And I don't believe that that's what happened in 2020.
Well, let me tell you this too. Let me tell you, because you left out something that's very, very important, Anton. When you in New York City and you need an ID to shovel snow, but you fight. I mean, you talk about telling on yourself. You talk about telling on yourself. I mean, Mom Donnie and the Democrats. I mean, it just went out the window. You fighting for the Safe Act not to exist, but in the same breath, you require an ID to shovel damn snow. I mean, that argument went out the window for them. There's no question.
I don't understand. I know you were born and raised in Queens. I know your roots is definitely New York. I know you're a Knicks fan, and it breaks my heart to see what the Pistons are going to do to the Knicks. However,
I thought I liked you, bro. I thought I liked you. You got to bring up the Pistons. You got to do that to me, bro. I mean, you got to do that. All right, go ahead, man. Go ahead, man.
However, I have to say that you must be disappointed in what is happening in New York. And I'm not even talking about with Kathy Hochul. I'm not just talking about with Zoran Mamdani. I'm talking about city council. I'm talking about Eric Adams. Everything that has transpired over the last 5 years in New York has ultimately led to you guys electing somebody that hasn't even been born inside of the United States of America, and y'all married to them. So it bothers me. It bothers me that this country is going the way that it's going.
You use the word disappointed. Nah, bro, I'm scared. I think New York is going to be an unmitigated disaster. I'm scared as hell. I already moved out the state, bro. I already bought a house in Florida. I ain't gonna lie to you. I already bought a house in Florida. I'm like, hell with this. This is an absolute mess. So you have your points. I'm just saying that you're making points about the Democratic Party. What would you say about the Republican Party? You're not about to sit up here and act like they're paragons of virtue, right? And that they're always honest and straightforward.
What? I am shocked Stephen A. said that, but I forgot though. Stephen A. Now, when it comes to the type of money he's making, he's very, very conservative. He loves the conservative policies because he gets to keep his money. But because he is the black sportscaster and all of that, he pretty much said if he runs for president, he would run as a Democrat because he know he would get the backing of black people. It's solely that. Now, in terms of the money this nigga making, the $20-30 million he make a year, he want to keep most of that. So he cool with Trump and his policies. But he would never run as a Republican. He said it himself. So he's playing devil's advocate here. So although he's he's conservative in his real life, on TV, he's Democratic.
But we're not going to do that, are we?
No, I think that Bush II was the worst president in my life. I absolutely hated him because of the things that he did to the economy. That was the worst time of my life. I went broke. I think that Obama inherited a mess.
How was it Bush's fault that you went broke? Bush had nothing to do with the financial decisions that you made, sir. What the fuck? My nigga said I went broke during the time of Bush. I guess Hurricane Katrina affected.
I don't think that everything that Obama did was wrong. I actually think that Trump's policies more or less align with what Obama was doing in 2008, 2009, 2010, right? If you look at Nancy Pelosi.
I'm so ignorant. I couldn't tell you who PBD is. Peanut butter? I don't even know. What is, can you tell me what PBD is, Jessica? I probably be like, I'm stupid because it's the initials for a podcast or a person. I just don't know who. Philip? I don't fucking know.
These policies back in 96, right? If you look at what Joe Biden said that he stood for, if you look at what Obama represented, those are the same things that Trump represent. They want to make it seem like, well, him deporting illegal migrants is such a bad thing. Obama deported over 3 million people in his
fuck just Obama. Every president has had their own stances on immigration, and we have ICE and Border Patrol for a reason, because we stayed deporting motherfuckers. This shit didn't just pop up. It didn't. Look, you could go look up presidents. Well, fuck it, we would have to do. I don't know about the first founding forefather presidents in there, but if you go back to the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of presidents had to get motherfuckers deported up out of here. It's just part of the game.
His terms, Trump didn't even deport 1 million people in his first term in office. So I don't think that what Trump is doing is so radical. I think that what he's doing is more closely aligned with what moderate Democrats was doing back in the 90s.
So with that being said, is it fair to say that you wouldn't be against the Democratic Party if it represented what those Democrats represented back in the day, that your real problem is with the progressive movement that appears to have taken over the Democratic Party, and that's
I
what
have no idea who
disassociating yourself from?
No, absolutely not. I believe in less government. I believe that people that are here, they should be here legally. I don't believe in men and women's bathrooms. I believe in smaller, much smaller government. I don't believe in higher taxes. I don't believe that you are independent. I think that you are conservative. I think you're a Republican.
Did this nigga say he don't believe in me? Oh, okay. I thought he said he didn't believe in men and women's bathrooms. He said he doesn't believe in men in. Okay, the N and the and sounded close. I was about to say, wait, what? Okay. He don't believe in men being in bathrooms. I think any sane person could agree with that. We got family restrooms and everything. Why can't they just start making trans bathrooms? I'm just saying that would like alleviate the problem. Make a trans bathroom, just a little single bathroom like you got the family bathroom or the handicap, and push on. But yeah, I think it would be awkward for the opposite sex to see somebody in their bathroom and they're not used to seeing that. I ain't gonna even bring kids in. It's gonna be some adults. It would be some grown ass adult women that ain't never. Just it looks weird. A nigga in full drag break his dick out. That would be kind of weird to them. Now, men, on the other hand, we horny. So if we see a trans woman in there, whatever the fuck the term is, it's still a woman. She just got a little peach fuzz on her face, still got her titties, still got pussy. We ain't gonna look twice. But it's still, what are you doing here? That could lead to some bad behavior because it's still a woman. Same thing with the men in the women's bathroom.
I think that you are a
They're still a
Republican,
man.
but I don't think that
it could lead to some unwanted consequences.
are willing to admit it openly because of the backlash that comes along with the Black community and not supporting people that aligns with the Democratic Party.
Okay. Now, I'm glad you brought that up because allow me to retort to that. I don't give a shit what people say. If I feel what I feel, I'm going to stand on it. My challenge is knowing what I'm talking about. You study politics more than I do, along with various others. And so because of that, there are times that I'm simply uncertain about a position. And because I'm uncertain about a position, I lean on the same old. Like, for example, I'm about the economy. I want a strong economy, okay? So I'm about free market capitalism. But I like some safety nets, not just free market capitalism and let's minimize government involvement to the nth degree. I think that
like what safety nets?
No, I'm just talking about, well, when you talk about economically speaking, I don't want over-regulation, but I don't want zero regulation either. You see what I'm saying? In a binary system, they force us to pick a side. So for me, when I say I'm an independent, I'm like, damn, there's certain things that I lean a little bit here to the right, and then I lean a little bit here to the left.
I don't think that the Republican Party forces us to pick. I don't. The Republican Party.
No, I'm just answering your question about me. I'm just answering your question about me, just for clarification purposes.
That's fair.
With the immigration, with
every side makes you pick.
Immigration, the only reason I totally supported Trump closing the borders because Biden opened them. If Biden had never opened them,
why not vote for him? Why not vote for him?
Because first of all, I've said this so many times. I would have voted for Nikki Haley.
Well, Marcellus, I watch Marcellus's show every goddamn morning. I'm always damn in his top leaderboard, which I don't know how. I'm always number 3 on the leaderboard. But yeah, I watch him every day. That was a refreshing interview. I saw it. They were just talking about Ryan Clark and Stephen A. and things of that nature. But he's on the show because they did a show for years together. So that's why the only reason their show ended is because Jason was like, he left. He didn't accept the contract. I don't know if he wanted more or what it was, but he decided to leave and go independent. The show ran a month or two without him. And then everybody went their separate ways. And then Marcellus got a relationship with Emmanuel Ocho because even though he left the even though he left the show with Jason Whitlock, Emmanuel Ocho came in, he stayed on it. And then Marcellus Wiley felt like they lowballed him, so he left and went independent. But I said I was gonna review that too, because they had me dying laughing. And they didn't lie. Especially when he got on Ryan Clark, like, bruh, you up here talking about all this pro-black shit and black people that, and you got a white baby mama, nigga. Shut up. That was real shit.
I would have voted.
Where was all that black pride when you was skeeting in that white woman, sir? We ain't supposed to talk about that though. We can't. You question everybody else's blackness, but when somebody want to talk about the white bitch you married, that's beyond the scope. You niggas is crazy. And then Ryan Clark got the nerve to say something about Cam Newton having Jason Whitlock on his show talking about where was the loyalty. Nigga, where was the loyalty when you had Sage Steele on your show? She don't like Stephen A. He been cussing that bitch out for a year, and you let her get up there and say what the fuck she wanted about the nigga that gave you a job. You and Cam did the same thing. But he disloyal. Y'all niggas is crazy. I ain't forget about Sage Steele being on the Pivot Podcast. Everybody else that's talked about this shit ain't brought up, hey, bro, you had Sage Steele on there. That's Stephen A. She talked bad about him. Stephen A. got about 7 videos roasting this bitch. You do. But it was okay when Ryan and the Pivot Podcast did it. Cam Newton, no, bro, you wrong. What?
Definitely.
And he's already, him and Cam got history anyway because he been talking shit about Cam Newton. Cam Newton came out and said that Jalen Hurts he's called him a game manager or some shit, and Ryan Clark brought up, well, you did this in the Super Bowl and X, Y, and Z. So he just been hating. And Cam had to say, despite me not winning a Super Bowl and all that, nigga, what draft pick were you? I can't relate. Did you win the MVP? Can't relate. So he just was like, I may not have won a championship, but nigga, everything else involved in the same sport you and I played, I whooped your ass.
Nikki Haley, possibly DeSantis. I didn't like his remarks about good points about slavery, so I probably turned against him because of that. I didn't appreciate that shit at all. But I would tell you, for the most part, him, and I would vote for Marco Rubio. I wouldn't hesitate. But also know this about me, because I'm glad you asked, because I heard you touching on some of my politics with some of your cliques, and I was like, I can't wait to speak to his brother, right? And I said to myself, I said, listen, I don't blame him for feeling that way because he don't know me, and I've never really discussed a lot of this. But I said, listen, if you're sitting back and it's like, all right, it's immigration. Follow the Obama policy. Go ahead and keep that policy in place. I would have supported that. When you talk about safety in the streets, damn right. You ain't getting out of jail the same day you get in jail. Not on my watch. Oh, hell no. So in that regard, yeah, I'm more conservative than liberal. But entitlement programs are more liberal than conservative. I think the desolate and disenfranchised, because I think the desolate and disenfranchised need a helping hand from time to time. I know it helped me and my family. Now, we didn't lean on it. We didn't depend on it. We didn't live off of it for decades. But to get a helping hand, to uplift yourself, sometimes I think that's needed, and it doesn't bother me. So I'm pro-choice, because I don't believe in telling a woman what to do with her body. I think I'm more of a supporter of the LGBTQ plus community than conservatives are. So those are the reasons why I would call myself an independent.
But all those values you just said are pretty much Democratic, except for, all those were Democratic values.
Then who leans a little bit left instead of right, to clarify.
But here's the thing, though, Stephen A. The Republican Party is not distancing itself from people that's choosing to live their life the way that they want to live it. That's not the position, and that's how it's marketed from the Democrat Party. Okay. There's plenty of gay people. There's plenty of people that live alternative lifestyles that are a part of the Republican Party. What the Republicans are basically standing for is we should not be allowing for children to transition themselves, or for parents to transition children before they become of age. We should not
totally
allow
agree with that.
But see, that's
1,000% I agree with you.
That Republicans are radical. They're not radical in their stance against anything. They believe in, freedom of religion, for you to be able to practice however you want to practice. Right. They're not trying to abolish gay marriage. None of that stuff is existing, right? That is a marketing ploy. But Democrats are extreme in their push for it in order to align themselves with certain groups. No, that is back in the day. Okay, I got that. But I grew up.
Well, Obama wasn't that long ago, sir. That's still in the past 20 years. So that's still like as of now, it's been 4 presidents in the past 20 years, and technically 3 because Trump won twice.
Up in the 80s and the 90s and what have you, and I was hearing a different thing from the Reagan and the H.W. Bush administration. So you got to take that into consideration, and maybe I dropped the ball because I'm thinking about Republicans and conservatives, and I'm thinking about what the party had always been, even up until McCain was running, and I'm looking at it from that lens. That's all I'm going to. But let me get back to you.
Hold on, but let's stay on the my body, my choice part.
Sure, no problem.
Republicans are not removing women's rights to do what they want to do with their body. The only thing that they're saying is we don't want that to be the responsibility of the federal government. If that's what you want, then you can vote for it on a state level. That's all they're saying. But see, the miscommunication is that they're completely against it. I can disagree with your lifestyle, but still respect your right to do what you want to do because we're governed by the Constitution.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like my ultimate thing is we are a republic governed by the Constitution, and so we're protected based off of our rights, our amendments, our right to carry, right? All of these things. Trump is the only person that's protected and going against birthright citizenship for illegal migrants, leveraging that when that was literally made for black people and slaves. I don't see anything that he's doing policy-wise when he's when he's developing a lot of these things that create criteria for people to meet the expectation in order for them to get certain things, even when it comes to government services and health and food stamps and Section 8 and all of that stuff. They're not getting rid of it. They want to remove the people that are taking advantage of it from a fraud perspective.
Let me throw this by you. Let me throw this scenario about you. Do you have siblings?
I do. 3 brothers, no sisters.
All right, so you don't have any sisters. Okay, so it's a difficult question to ask.
So I'm glad I didn't know this question was asked, but I've been seeing content creators saying, I seen one the other day saying, Anton got 3 brothers and they got a podcast and they over here struggling and they doing X, Y, and Z, and he could easily do this and make them. Well, no, you're assuming that, as I said yesterday, just because Antoine got 1 million followers doesn't mean if he tells them to go follow somebody that's boring, it's going to happen. The people have to actually like the people that they're subscribing to. How come he didn't put them on? How do y'all know they want it to be put on? Maybe they don't want to be associated. Maybe they want to feel like they got it out the mud and not got a handout. Maybe they did some shit to where he don't want to fuck with them, but these are questions asked. Motherfuckers just say he got brothers and they doing podcasts and he should be helping them. Okay, cool. Like, we don't live in the real world and we see this shit all the time. Like, the internet has made people forget what niggas actually see and experience in real life, because we know a whole bunch of family members that don't fuck with each other, and it be that one of my family members like, why you won't put me on this? Because you an irresponsible motherfucker. That's why. It be like that, but on the internet, you can just be like, hey, you supposed to do that. They ain't even doing it. The people critiquing, they got family members they ain't put on. They do YouTube.
Ask you, but I'm gonna try anyway because I have 4 older sisters. I have 4 older sisters, right?
Okay.
So you feel the way that you feel, but your sisters come up to you and say, "You ain't a woman, I am, and we need this." And what he or they are proposing is against us. Now, that's not a community backlash. That's not worrying about what the public thinks. But I'll be damned if I didn't hear my sisters come in my face and remind me of the fact that you were raised by 5 women, and we don't appreciate what he and them, meaning the GOP, are attempting to do when it comes to our right.
And that's the damn shame, because it wouldn't have been one man in your life come to you and complain and say, well, he doing this and he doing that. And don't forget you was raised by men. That no man would come to you and say that.
As women, I'm asking you, what are you supposed to say, think, and feel in that particular scenario?
I want them to tell me what rights is being removed from them, because I know that women often at times react emotionally, and they're letting their emotions dictate their actions. Right? It's okay for you to be emotional. Everybody has emotions, but I'm not going to let that determine what I actually do. Right? And so the thing that I want to understand is the facts. So I would have a conversation with them, and I would ask them, what right is it that's being removed from you? Because I don't see it. I don't see any policy. I don't see any legislation. I don't see anything that's being removed from you from a Republican perspective.
Okay. Anton Daniels right here, straight shooter with yours truly, Stephen A. I want to get to the black community in this regard, because one of the things that, listen, like I said, I don't consider myself a black conservative. I consider myself a black man who is an independent that leans left on some things and leans right. That's me. That's how I think about myself.
You can't be that way, Stephen A. You cannot be that way.
I believe I can.
Stephen A., you said all that, but you still a nigga that said you would run as a Democrat instead of an independent. So you don't believe it's enough independent people to support you. And this nigga here, you can't think that way, Stephen A. Look like he just about to wave some pom-poms. How you gonna tell this grown-ass man what he can and can't do with fucking politics? It's politics. It's real, but it's not. Nobody can look at you walking down the street and determine if you're a Democrat or a Republican. They just can't. You have to tell them.
I believe I can.
No.
We could answer. I will gladly come on your show. We can argue about that all day, every day.
Can't
I'm happy to. I can't. Oh, come on. Oh, please, man. All you got to do is
I can't wait because you
say the word. I will come on your show. It's not a problem.
do
it's not a problem at all.
You can do that in sports. You can't do that in popular culture and politics.
Because
people in the middle get ran over. You got to pick one side or the other.
45% of the U.S. population is independent right now. I would beg to differ on that. It's climbing.
They're not.
If anything, listen, the independent vote, I think, is going to swing the election.
If 45% of the population is independent, what's the Republican side? What's the Democratic side? 45% is almost half, so somebody is slipping.
One way or the other. What do you say to that?
Not. I don't believe.
You don't think that's going to happen?
I don't believe that 45% of the population is independent. I think that they say that as a cop-out, but not wanting to actually say out loud exactly what they represent and who it is that they support, especially within the Black community. It's not popular to say that you're a Republican. It's not popular to say that you're conservative. And so what people lean on is to say, well, I'm independent, in order to give themselves an out for what it is that they choose and not to be accountable for who they support. That's what really is happening. See, I don't believe in what people say. I believe in what people do, right? And I think that a lot of times people are peer pressured, especially today in the Black community, to vote against their own best interest because it's not popular to do and you can't be a part of the cool kids club. And so even with you, I don't like the fact that you apologized for some of the things that you said because you were absolutely right, especially and particularly against how Jasmine Crockett was representing herself. But because the woke mob decided that they wanted to make you the punching bag and to come after you, and they still didn't and don't support you and didn't accept your apology. But in particular, and I'm saying it's not you, the Don Lemons, the Joy Reids, all of these people, they don't respect you unless you align with what they.
He just said all Stephen A. political props debate. The posturing he just did as well. And Stephen A. already said, bring me on your podcast. Stephen A. understands that Antoine Daniels has influence. He done seen him on Fox News. They both got the same amount of subscribers. Stephen A. is trying to get into politics. Bruh talks about politics all the time, so it's a weird. Of course, Stephen A. is gonna go, and that's a great look for Antoine Daniels to have a nigga of Stephen A.'s ilk on his show.
They believe, and so even when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, they don't believe in diversity unless it's aligned with what they believe, which goes against. It's an oxymoron, right? It's hypocritical, and so even when you have an opinion, they don't believe in Black Republicans. Mm-hmm. They only believe if you believe in them and diversity as it aligns with their agenda. That doesn't make sense. How can you want to have voices in every part of government or voices that's different from yours or representation, but you don't want representation when it doesn't agree with you?
Right.
Like I can disagree with you on a particular issue, but it doesn't mean that I remove your right to vote or your humanity, or I can't agree with you on another issue. But that's not what they do. They're not tolerant like they sell you.
We all know that when it comes to cancel culture, the Democrats are the ones that are guilty of that. It ain't the Republicans 100%. And the right trying to get people canceled. It's the progressive left. There's no doubt about that. We see that every single day. As it pertains, and I'm glad you brought that up, as it pertains to my apology to Jasmine Crockett, what happened was Trump came out there.
Every last person that didn't put me on a petition and things of that nature and called for me to be canceled. I ain't trying to be funny, but guess what? There's some card-carrying Democrats.
After, because I backed it up and I stayed on my position, or not just the first time, but the second time. But then Trump came and used that as an excuse to start questioning our IQ and the intelligence of this Black woman. And I didn't want to be a part of that. That's why I apologize for it. You can agree or disagree with it.
You can't apologize for something that you didn't do wrong, Stephen.
Well, again, but if I felt like I contributed to something that happened wrong to her, that was my only issue. But it didn't take away from what I was saying. Yo, acting like that ain't gonna cut it. Yo, that's not gonna win the election for you. That's not gonna win the Senate seat. That's not gonna make you have more power, more influence in the House of
Representatives. That's not who you are. That's not who you are when you talk about sports. When you talk about sports, you say what you say, and it is what it is.
Yeah, but the point is I have the facts to back it up, not just my opinions. See, when the Detroit Pistons lose to the New York Knicks, when they lose to the New York Knicks, Anton, right? Okay, I can speak definitively as to why, because the outcome is the outcome. There's nothing subjective about it. So a lot of, and I get what you're saying, and I appreciate your comment about that, because a lot of people have looked at me, and even when they've supported me, they've been critical of me from the standpoint, yo, he's talking, but it ain't the same Stephen A with sports. And I'm like, yo, I got facts to back me up. In politics, this is my perspective. And somebody comes up with something else, I'm listening to you right now. I'm going like this. Well, I did feel this way, but damn, he did make a damn good point here, and he did make a damn good point there. I got to listen. I got to think about that, because that's how it is.
If they would have listened to you,
she would have won. She would have won.
We align with that, right? But instead, we're more focused on how we feel instead of the results, which leads back to your original question about having a conversation with your sisters. My goal is to get the best results. And ultimately, sometimes I can't even be the nice person to you because I have to be the best person for you, right? Okay. I kind of look at it, especially when it comes to women, because there are women that I still protect in my family and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes I can't be, like I have a daughter, and I know that you have a couple daughters. Yeah. I can't be her friend. I have to be her father. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes she doesn't know what's best for her, which I can lead her through that with a conversation. But more importantly, I need to educate her at the same time. But I still want the best results. And if people really cared about Jasmine Crockett, then they would have stood 10 toes down and told her the truth instead of just going along with the get along gang to make her feel good about it. And now she's not even a part of she got eliminated in the primary.
There you go.
But what if the truth is that's how our women act? No matter the education level, no matter how much money they have, no matter what prestigious position they hold, that's just how they act. What if that's the truth?
Talking to Anton Daniels right here on Straight Shooter. What's the hardest part about being a Black conservative?
It's not hard at all. It's not hard at all. It's beautiful. I think that it's like being a man. Sometimes I think the true measure of a man is doing the things you don't want to do when you don't want to do it. All the time, you don't always want to get up and go to work, right? Because sometimes you're tired. But guess what? Part of being a man is getting up and taking care of business because you got people to take care of. And I think that we've lost that as men, and as masculinity is continuously demonized in a culture. Sometimes we look at it as a bad thing. I look at it as a badge of honor. So I don't think that there's anything, honestly, I don't look at it. I can't think of right off the top of my head something that I'm bothered by when it comes to being a conservative or Republican, because I just think it's an education process. In the same way that I used to critique and look at other people and say, man, I don't understand why they are Republican, is the light and the insight that I had to get. And ultimately, it was people that stood 10 toes down and didn't change just because they wanted somebody to feel good about them, which gave me some incentive to do my own research. And then that's what led me to being a Republican myself.
You've said Black culture has become, quote, I'm reading from something that you said here, too victim-oriented. But the wealth gap is real. The median white household has several times the wealth of the median Black household, which I know you know. Where do you draw the line between personal responsibility and at least acknowledging structural barriers that may exist?
I don't believe that there are any structural barriers in 2026. And I think to say that it is disrespectful to the people that was actually civil rights leaders that fought for our ability to do the things that we're doing today. We don't even show up to the polls. And most of the time, especially if it's a local election or it's an election that's off cycle from the national election, we're less than 20% showing up at the polls, but there's people that died for us to vote, right? We literally can determine our own future today. There's nothing holding us back. Now, if you told me this 100 years ago, 50 years ago, I might have listened to you. I might have took that and said, you know what? There are some things that's preventing us from being what we are. But honestly, most of the things, I would say 98, 99% of the things that is wrong with us is self-inflicted wounds. And life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. So if you're telling me, like, for example, they'll use, schools and HBCUs or whatever. I went to community college and I made my way through corporate America and got to some of the highest levels in corporate America in banking, information technology, UX, UI.
This is the Capathon right here, okay? None of this should be proven. Other than he went to community college.
I went to community college, transferred over to, before I went to community college, I got a job at the University of Michigan. The University of Michigan then helped pay for my education to go to a major university after I transferred from that community college. Why don't we embrace that?
What did you do at the University of Michigan, sir? What was you doing at the University of Michigan, and then you decided to take you invested your job funds to the into the community college? This nigga these background stories these niggas create are crazy as fuck.
Why don't we embrace trades? Why don't we embrace different cultural norms that's not toxic to us? So in 2026, if I'm expected to teach my daughter, who just turned 18, that there's something that's preventing her from being successful and she need a leg up or a handout in order to be that, it'll be a cold day in hell before I ever tell her that.
See, you and I disagree in this. When you talk about most of our issues are self-inflicted, I'm just not going as high as the 98% that you threw out there. I think it's more like 70-30 personally. That's what I do. I think it's more like 70-30 in your favor. But I think it's more like 70-30. And here's why. Because I can use the word structural barriers, but then I can turn around when you debunk that and say, okay, no proverbial glass ceiling. I certainly believe that exists. There's definitely a proverbial glass ceiling. Because when you walk into, well, again, you walk in, like, for example, let me use me for example, because you'll appreciate this. So everybody talks about me and they talk about my contract and, I signed this contract with ESPN.
Beautiful. And congratulations on that.
I appreciate that. I saw your comments. Thank you for that. But let me say this to you. Bro, it was after I worked in the business for 20 plus years. And if it was after I watched a multitude of people get their paper. So I have this saying, and I'll give you the floor to answer this. I've had this saying. When the white folks catch a cold, black folks catch pneumonia. It's always worse for us. And the system is designed in such a way where it doesn't mean that you won't get yours. It doesn't mean that you can't get yours as a black person. But usually there's a figurative line and it's going to be somebody right ahead of you that's going to get it. That's what
Who's ahead of you right now? Who's
here.
ahead of you, Stephen A? Nobody. You ain't even.
That's after. But
Pat McAfee is ahead of him because Pat McAfee is making a killing independently. And he making a killing at ESPN. Stephen A was able to get as much money as he did because of what Pat McAfee commanded. Pat McAfee's outside influence and coming to ESPN is what made Stephen A be like, damn, I got to build me an empire outside of ESPN. Because if Pat McAfee get fired from ESPN, he don't give a fuck. He don't. ESPN is paying him to license his show that he does on wherever the fuck he do it, at YouTube, wherever. ESPN is paying him to air it. Good morning.
They're not gonna come off.
Okay.
I'll
put some ointment on it in a second. I'm almost done.
That's after 20 plus years, though.
But that means you worked your ass off.
Yes, exactly.
I read your book. I know everything that you went through. I know where you got started. I know what happened at Winston-Salem. I know how you got injured. I know where your inspiration came from, right? I know that you was over in Philadelphia really working your ass off in order to get to the spaces that you in. I know that you took accountability for your contract not going the way that it was supposed to go in 2009, right? Yep. I know that you talked to the head of ESPN and he told you that your time wasn't up yet, but you worked your ass off, right? You wrote articles. You did everything that you needed to do. I know that you leveled up and nothing that you did could be taken away from you because you earned everything that you have. You didn't run in the Victim Olympics, and I think that you're handicapping other people because you deserve that $100 million contract. Nothing in your book, not one thing that I read in your book, straight shooter. Not one thing that I read in your book. Even when it came to your childhood and your father and you describing everything that he did that ultimately led you to becoming the man that you, even when you talked about kids teasing you based off of dyslexia and everything, not one thing in your book did you ever make an excuse for and say, you know what, I'm a victim. You use that as leverage and motivation to push you further. Yeah. And you are the top dog in the field right now.
But I appreciate that.
How can you?
Pat McAfee is. If you want to say he the top black person, yes. But overall personality is Pat McAfee. And hell, one could even argue Colin Cowherd.
You make that argument, Stephen A, when that's not even a reflection of what your life is.
But because what I'm saying to you is that just because I'm not encouraging anybody to embrace victim mentality, I apologize if I gave that impression, but I had to be that dog. I had to push through. I had to keep going. All I'm saying is I acknowledged in my own mind some of the barriers that I was going to have to maneuver my way through in order to ascend. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, and I wasn't going to embrace the victim mentality, but it doesn't mean that I was walking around acting like it didn't exist. I just knew I had to overcome it because bitching and whining about it ain't going to get it done. I knew that. That's all I'm saying. That's entirely different than saying it doesn't exist.
When we say that, we give people permission to bitch and whine. And I'm
okay, then say that.
When we sit here and we look at the quote unquote wealth gap, if you really do your due diligence and you study, you'll realize that we demonize and we make the person a litmus, the person that we're chasing, white people. I will tell you that all you got to do is look at the census and look at the income inequalities. And I will tell you that white people are not ahead of us that much. They're about right here. The real people that's generating the most revenue and the highest household income on average are Indians and Asians. Mm-hmm. It's not white people. So why do we use white people as a scapegoat or as a measuring stick for what it is that we need to do and automatically qualifying them? Because I can tell you when I was in my software engineering classes, there were no black people. All of them was going into business, all of them was doing marketing, and all of them was doing a bunch of stuff that they wasn't really trying to do because it was easy for them to stay in school and still qualify for their student aid. They're not picking STEM fields. We're not picking the right curriculums. We're not going into healthcare. We want to always take the shortcut as a culture, and that's why I say that the culture is trash. It's not black people. It's the thing that we celebrate the most that ultimately is the thing that holds us back. The culture is toxic, and we push it and we promote it. And as long as we continue to believe that it's systematic things that's holding us back, then we'll never get to the place that we're supposed to be at.
So it's
But you just said black people are in fields where they're successful and make good money. You just said it ain't the fields that you feel like they should be in. And you said they're into marketing and business and all of that shit. And you're a business owner. What the fuck? This shit is crazy.
essentially, I'm willing to concede, first of all, that everything that you just said.
And I'm willing to bet Indians and Asians aren't the top earners in the U.S. I'm willing to bet. I could be wrong, but I'm willing to bet Indians and Asians aren't the top owners in the U.S. I mean, top earners in the U.S. Not when like every billionaire that owns a sports team is white. You got one Indian that owns a team in Jacksonville. Everybody else is just white. They're them billionaires. And they generate it yearly.
Is on point. What I'm saying to you is me acknowledging whether it's a proverbial glass ceiling from time to time or whatever.
And it's the WNBA teams, the NBA teams, the NFL teams, the NHL teams, the Major League Baseball teams, the soccer teams, all the sports owners is white. Michael Jordan was the only black when he sold. White.
It's not the same.
That's about 100 men right there. White.
As, okay, you're encouraging folks to embrace a victim mentality. I might sit up there and tell you the obstacle, but at the end of the day, you still got to overcome it. It won't have no damn excuses. Like you said, I got 2 daughters. Look, I don't want to hear excuses. You're just you educated, you smart, figure it out. I'm gonna help you as best as I possibly can. But we ain't adopted and embracing this mentality that there's no way we're going to succeed because there's barriers in our way that are unfair. Get the hell over it and let's figure out how to do it.
I think we push it. Even in 2026, we push it.
Really?
If they don't encounter the racial barrier, why would you tell them about something that they haven't encountered that's instilling fear in them? So I got to kind of agree with Antoine on that one, of even saying, well, when white folk get a cold, black folk get pneumonia. It's worse for black people that you're instilling something that they may not ever encounter, but then they're always going to be looking for it. And if they do happen to fail, then they're going to blame what you enforce in them.
That's what absolutely we push it. We push it with diversity, equity, and inclusion. We don't feel like we can get a job unless somebody gives us a leg up.
But diversity, equity, and inclusion, black folks weren't even the primary beneficiaries of it. It was white women.
But you can't sell that to them. You can't tell them that because they still believe that that is something that they need and it's a handicap, but it really didn't even benefit you. And that's my whole point, is that you don't need it. If the person that benefited from it the most is the one that you're using as a litmus, then why would you have it as a part of your agenda? Why would you have it as a part of what you need in order to be successful? You don't need it. I'll see people every day criticize Martin Luther King and they say, well, part of the reason why we are today, what we are, is because we should have stayed segregated and we should have depended on ourselves in order to continue to be successful. Well, you can't have it both ways. I disagree with that narrative, but you can't have it both ways. You can't say that we should have been integrated while at the same time criticizing a system that we integrated into, and then at the same time say that, well, you know what, we would have been better off if we just stayed to ourselves. You can't have it both ways. And we speaking with forked tongue because we're looking for an excuse why we're not successful instead of just doing what we got to do. Life is hard for everybody. There's plenty of white people every single day that's suffering. They on drugs. They highly medicated. They on government assistance. More white people are on government assistance than any black person, any black culture, any part of black culture in the United States of America. Life is hard for everybody. Either you a winner or you a loser. And it's no way that I'm ever going to find myself in a losing category because I refuse to. I'm just going to work. I'm going to outwork you. I'm going to out-hustle you. I'm going to study more than you. I'm going to do everything that I can to beat you.
I can relate to that. Anton Daniels right here with Stephen A. So when Trump goes about the business of at least appearing to, the Smithsonian Museum and stuff like that, and basically trying to block access in some people's eyes to Black history and stuff like that. You don't have any issues with things of that nature. You don't find yourself questioning anything about Trump that makes you say, now that's not necessary. You don't need to do that. Or, anything that'll make you say, I don't think he's looking out for the Black community nearly as much as he should. Nothing at all.
I think that he's done more for the Black community than any president before him, especially in my lifetime. Like, it's a regular question. It's an ongoing question. Before I even start to address Trump and how he permanently funded HBCUs, while he's working on birthright citizenship, that's literally for that was for slaves. That shouldn't even exist at this point. How he created opportunity zones in his first election, in his first term in office, in order for us to invest in our own communities. We can go down the line on different things that he's done specifically for Black people. The better question is when you compare and contrast, and you pay attention to somebody like Barack Obama, who's endeared to the Black community because he can sing. I love his jeans. He wears mom jeans, and he's a smooth brother. But when you ask yourself the question, what specifically did he do for Black people? You come up with nothing.
Somebody said he wore mom jeans.
So how can we hold Trump to a standard that we don't even hold the first Black president in the United States of America?
But you just acknowledged earlier what Obama inherited. You understand what I'm saying? And you could get to the Affordable Care Act, 24 million people. I'm sorry, 24 million additional people on have healthcare insurance. You could put some people will point to that. Some people will point to that.
The healthcare system as it stands today, the Department of Education as it stands today, it is all horrible. It is bad. And again, we diverting away from the question. What specifically did he do for Black people? Because we hold Trump to a standard that we don't even hold Obama to.
That's good.
Nobody can.
What did any president do specifically for Black people?
Point to one thing. I can tell you what he did for the LGBTQ community, though.
Fair enough. You're moving deeper into political commentary, obviously. Elections, Trump, Black conservative space. Are you yourself becoming a political figure in your mind, or is politics just content?
No, I'm deep into it.
It's just content. That nigga is never gonna run for anything. Who would vote for him?
Think that you can divest from it because it's a lifestyle. So for example, I believe you should live and be a reflection of whatever it is that you stand for, right? And this is why I hold a lot of people accountable for some of the things that they say, because it's like, well, your life isn't a reflection of it, right? Let's say, for example, the relationship space. And everybody can have commentary on a relationship, but very few people have been successful at relationships long-term or been successfully married. So I give a little bit more credence to the person that's a reflection of it. Or you could say a preacher, right? Who would go and listen to a preacher that's not a reflection of the thing that they preach? Once that preacher gets exposed, then it's all downhill from there, right? So when I say that I'm moving deeper into the political,
the irony of that, once they get exposed, it goes from there. Sir, you've been getting exposed for going against your conservative religious beliefs, fucking all these hoes while being married. Again, I personally don't think what you're doing is wrong. You're a grown-ass man. Whatever arrangement you and your hoes got, that's between y'all. But when you say you stand on and you should be a reflection of, well, a lot of conservative religious men do what you do, sir. They be out here cheating and not giving a fuck. That's not standing on what you portray to be. The irony of that statement.
goes here, I don't think it's a limit for me, honestly. I mean, at some point, I'll be honest with you.
Like, this nigga been doxing folk and everything the past month, and he sitting up here talking about, yeah, I'm a conservative religious man. God told me to dox that bitch.
One of the reasons why I'm still here in Michigan,
God told me to fly these hoes out the country and fuck them. Why I got my wife and daughter at home for the internet to see. That's what God told me to do in my, like, the shit you publicly do is the opposite of conservative, my nigga. That is crazy work.
got Detroit on my back right there. And shout out to everybody that's in Detroit. I might run for office. The only reason that I haven't so far is because it would limit my financial ability.
Sir, the only reason you haven't that is because you can't run right now because they just exposed you for being a cheating ass nigga. You can't run. You ain't Bill Clinton. When he got caught, he was already the goddamn president. Had that shit happened when he was a low-level senator or governor, wherever the fuck he was, it wouldn't have happened.
ability to really add value to my family at this point.
There we
So,
go. So you relate.
I can't,
so you relate to all the news out there. Hell, I ain't giving up that money. I ain't giving up that money there, Tony. It ain't happening. I work too hard to get
can't
this
do
money.
it.
I'm not giving it up, bro. I'm not
I'm
doing
not ready
it.
for that.
The politicians are asking for the money we making. Why would
Yeah,
I
I
give
can't
that
do it.
up?
The politicians still leave office as millionaires with way more power and the ability to enact shit.
Why would I give that up?
Because I believe that, you truly have to be a public.
And are there laws that say you can't invest into shit if you're into politics? Because they act like they can't still be investors and shit of that nature and or run their own show. How come he couldn't be a mayor or something and still do a podcast? Are there rules written in the law that says you can't do this? Or are they just blowing smoke up everybody's ass?
Serving.
Donald Trump has not stopped earning money at his golf courses because he's the president. In fact, he turned down a salary, which lets you know he making money elsewhere. So I don't know how being in politics would limit your ability to make money for your family when the nigga that has the highest position in the country has refused to get paid both terms. So how the fuck you think he's surviving, sir? He ain't just living. He not spending money and not making any. And he parroted this dumbass shit. Neither one of them thought about, wait a minute, the president don't take a motherfucking salary. He owns golf courses and shit. Why am I up here saying I ain't gonna be able to make the same type money? Okay, whatever.
I don't like the political landscape. I think that Congress, it aggravates me that Congress still gets paid while they control the purse strings to the.
I agree. If TSA and them ain't getting paid, why in the fuck are the senators and the House of Representatives and all them motherfuckers getting the check? If the government shut down, nobody should be getting paid within the government. How in the fuck the actual workers don't get paid and the people that just say, yes, you can do it. Like, the politicians don't do no fucking work to me. That's not work. Sitting in chambers all day arguing or voting, that's not no goddamn work. And they become millionaires doing this shit. But the actual people on the front lines who actually have to go and put in work, they don't get a check for months. While the people who control whether they get a check or not still get one. That's bullshit.
To the country, and TSA agents ain't getting paid.
Yep.
I believe that they need term limits. There's a lot of things that I think needs to happen.
Every time there's a shutdown, I say, stop paying the politicians. I bet the government will never shut down. If they have to go without a check, it will never be a shutdown. Niggas will find a way to put their bipartisan issues aside.
Happen. But more importantly, I believe that the true heart of what we do politically is what we do locally. I know we focus a lot on what's happening nationally. We focus on Congress. We focus on the president. We focus on the Senate. But we really need to be focusing on millages. We need to be focusing on policy that's happening inside of these cities. I see what's happening in New York. They promised y'all a lot, but now they're looking to raise property tax values maybe 10%, right? I think that local politics is more meaningful than what's happening on a national scale.
Got you. Before I let you get on out of here, just a few more questions. When you think about what you've done and what has resonated most, some people think it's you and Corey. Some people would think it's your politics. I mean, what was it? What was it for you? I mean, what that experience? I watched it. I ain't got too.
Stephen A., you ain't shit for bringing up the Corey Holcomb, G. You is not shit. But then you got mad at Cam for bringing up to you and Jason Whitlock. I still stand with Antoine on the Corey Holcomb shit. He did not bag down. Everybody said, you ain't said it again. Man, the man said the shit 5 times before. I played it and counted how many times he said, you suck dick. Yes, you do. You're doing it now. You sucking folk dick now. What was one more time going to do? Fuck me saying it, nigga. You already mad. Let's go outside. You done switch seats, nigga. Let's go outside. He did not back down. So I don't agree with anybody talking about, well, he ain't said one more time. How many times I gotta say it? That's the old knock the stick off my shoulder shit. Nigga, Is we fighting or what? I done already disrespected you, nigga, to the point where you want to switch seats. Why do I need to say it again when I've said it 5 times? The 6th time gonna change it. The disrespect has already been laid out, sir. We going outside or what? Told him, you ain't gonna do nothing. Sat up in his seat like this. Look, now I don't think Antoine got pumped. If anything, Corey looked like the asshole in that position because he's supposed to be the one standing on principles, morals, and you disrespected me and all that other shit. Throw a punch then, nigga. Pay this nigga $50,000 and move the fuck on. And hit that nigga upside the head with a microphone and send him away with a check. For like we ain't gotta go to court or nothing. Here's $50,000, bitch ass nigga.
Much to say about it. I ain't trying to get in that mess.
I'm surprised.
But
You should.
well, you know, listen, man. You know, listen. Cat's gonna talk, and you know, I'm like this. I got mad respect for how you handled yourself. I tell you that much. I got mad respect for how you handled yourself, and I think that it was a good comment.
He handled himself better than Stephen A. did when LeBron approached him about the shit he was saying about his son. Stephen A. did not do an Antoine Daniels. He ain't said once or nothing. He just stood there. All the shit Stephen A. had been saying online on TV, he did not say to that man's face. And he had nothing but an opportunity. And it was security there. It wasn't gonna be nothing but a punch or two thrown if some shit broke out. Like them security guys wasn't gonna let LeBron whoop this man ass. It's security and police there. Nothing.
Conversation ultimately, but clearly things almost went off the rails, and I'm glad it did it because that wouldn't have been a good look for two brothers.
No, absolutely not.
Like that.
Yeah.
So, what were your thoughts? First of all, how have things been since that happened? And
it's been terrible since that happened. The publicity has been fine, but then the personal life shit, it's been terrible. He came on here crying, talking about Corey called my daughter ugly. He put online, I'm talking about suing, and then the girl that he was out there with, she left him, and he doxing motherfuckers. He arguing with his homeboys and shit. It's just been terrible. That's why you was a great distraction for him right now. And then you asked him about that bullshit. He thought he got away. He was like, fuck. We was at the end of this goddamn interview.
most importantly,
Stephen A. know what the fuck going on with this nigga. He just giving him a chance to spin it.
do you like being popular for stuff like that? Or is there something else you like being popular for more?
I don't care about what I get popular for. I just think that I need to become more popular. And the reason that is because I think that once people discover you and they start to do a deep dive into what your conversation is or what your content is, that's the thing that then resonates with them. So people go viral every single day, you know, for different reasons, but they're one-hit wonders or they fall off because they don't have anything that's relevant that allows for people to still follow them and keep them. So popularity and getting the word out and becoming more visible is necessary in order for you to be successful financially, is necessary in order for you to be successful as far as getting the word out or what it is that you're trying to change as far as the culture. So it doesn't matter to me. Politics, popular culture, I'll take it all.
But the algorithm,
I don't believe that there's any such thing as bad news.
But the algorithm rewards the most provocative version of
oneself.
That's true. So
he didn't lie right there. Because no matter what people are saying about him, they're still tagging him in the algorithm and making his name more and more recognizable.
how do you make sure that the version that goes viral is also the version that's the most accurate?
Well, I don't care about which version goes viral because people gonna do what they're gonna do, right? So
that is my fucking. You have to have if you don't have that attitude and you're trying to do social media seriously, you're going to have a lot of sleepless nights giving a fuck about what people talk about. That's why it was amazing to me to hear a nigga that knew me and a nigga and a female that don't know me tell me I care about image, man. I do my content and let motherfuckers do what they must afterwards. That's what I do. I understood the game a long time ago because I watched motherfuckers like Skip Bayless. I recently adopted Antoine's channel. I ain't beefing with no niggas lower than me. You gotta be my level or higher. I've adopted it. But yeah, I studied a whole bunch of successful people that were successful at social media before I decided I wanted to do it. So I understood a long time ago, like, nah, bro, just do you. You cannot control what a motherfucker think about the shit you put out. And even if you get in some bullshit scandals like bullshit lawsuits and fake restraining orders and all of the other shit, even my ex letting people believe I raped her, that all works in narrative because it was a goddamn it about 200 videos done about it. Everybody gave their opinion, and I told them I did not give a fuck at the end of the day, but I care about my image.
Right.
I look at it as I put the medicine inside of the candy. The entertainment is why they discover you. The medicine and what you do for them is how they stick around, right? And so I don't.
Again, the fajita with no sizzle. You could be the fajita with no sizzle. You could be I got you moment. But then can you keep the audience after that I got you moment? Can you keep producing I got your moments?
Worry about what people do with it. Like, for example, there's plenty of people that'll take what you say, or they'll react to what somebody else played of you, but they won't go to the original source and find out the full context as to why you said what you said. Now, you can't teach that. It's a certain type of person that's going to go to the original source and want to watch the whole thing, right? I'm the type of person that I want to read your whole book because I want to understand the mindset as to why you did it when you did it. You can't teach that. So people are going to discover you and they're going to take the information and they're going to do whatever it is that they're going to do. I can't control that. The only thing I'm going to do is keep doing what I'm doing.
Last question, and I said this on a recent interview that I did. It's like, to me personally, I've always been partial to Black conservatives in this regard. I think that Black conservatives have been victimized. Even no matter how many times I went to the poll and voted for a Democrat.
And they're victimized by not white people, but Black people. Well, let me take that back. Black people do it more than the white people because there's some white people that do not like Black conservatives. That's just is what it is. But mostly Black people condemn Black conservatives and call them coons and sellouts and all that other shit.
It always disgusted me that the default position is you must be a sellout if you are a Black conservative, as opposed to hearing why one of my best friends is a diehard Black Republican. He left the Democratic Party.
Again, I grew up in the era where Colin Powell and Thurman Thomas were celebrated Black historical figures. We talked about them during Black History Month for their achievements and being the first in their field. But in present times, they're called coons and sellouts because they're Republicans. It's crazy how the narrative shift within 30 years. I'm 40, so they was talking about Colin Powell in 43. They were talking about Colin Powell and shit before I was born. He was a hero. He was celebrated in Black history. And now that I'm 43, he's a coon because he was a Republican and he was associated with Bush. Condoleezza Rice should have been celebrated for being the first Black woman in that position in the damn presidential cabinet. Nope. You're a coon. You're a coon. You think you're white. You craziest shit in the world.
1990.
And that didn't come from white people. That came from Black people. Because they was on another political side of the damn aisle.
And he has not looked back in the last 30 years. Die hard. And he's in my face all the time talking to me about every little thing that the liberals do wrong. He just see. And he's just my phone blowing up all the damn time with him. And I've always been partial from the standpoint, I don't give a damn how supportive I was with the Democratic Party. I've always been, wait a minute. Why did he say or she say that?
Yeah.
Why did he feel that way? Let's hear what they have to say. And based on that, I will make my decision about how I feel. Not automatically my default position is they ain't down for Black people. They don't care. Do you ever see that kind of mentality being rectified, particularly in this day and age, considering how hostile things are?
Never. It'll never go away.
I agree. It won't.
It'll never go away.
I watched this past weekend, Boys in the Hood. And it's so funny because as I watched that movie, and it came out in the early 90s, I also watched New Jack City and I watched Menace to Society.
He watched all three of them stereotypical black ass movies in one weekend. Boy, stop. I get the point you trying to make, but nigga, you did not watch all three of them old ass movies in 6. Where did you even find all three of them motherfuckers at? Nigga, do you got a DVD set or something?
And we did like a film study. We got this little group that we do a film study. And what I realized is that we haven't changed as a culture since the early 90s. We have the same narrative. We have the same talking points. We look at women the same. We look at the system the same. We have not changed. The hood is the same as it was back then. Everything is literally the same. Now, that was the 90s.
Nah, the hood is different because most of them are getting gentrified, and I have no problem with it.
We are in 2026, and our children, the culture, people that have never experienced racism before in their life, is claiming racism and saying that the system is against them, and they haven't even lived life long enough to see what the system is. Their brains aren't even fully developed because your brain isn't fully developed until you're in your mid-20s. They're automatically teaching racism, and they're teaching victim Olympics to them, and it's a generational curse that we continue to pass down, and we continue to pass down. I don't think that it's ever going away. I don't think that it'll ever go away until the end of this earth. I never see it going away. Racism will be a part of the conversation. Gentrification will be a part of the conversation. Systematic oppression will be a part of the conversation. All of these are talking points and terms that we use to justify why we are in the place that we are. I don't see it happening. The only thing that you can do.
I agree with that as well. When he cook, he cook.
As an individual is to do your part, get the beam out of your own eye and be a reflection of the thing that you advocate for. They can call me a sellout, but everybody that works for me is black. And 80% of them are women. You see what I'm saying? Is it about your talking point or is it about what you like?
Why does it matter the percentage that are women or not? You don't have to give a job to no goddamn woman if you don't want to.
It's like,
Right.
So I don't pay attention to
80% women just means you have a higher chance of a sexual harassment charge coming out your goddamn office. My bad for my bad for just keeping it real. 80% women.
it. My goal is to save who I can, add value where I can, and make as much money as I can.
Last question to you: if you had your way and you got to impact me and my mode of thinking or what I choose to articulate or whatever, what would you do? What would you do, Anton? If you put me in one of them spin things and just tried to change me up, what would you do to me, Anton? What would you do?
Honestly, it's a difficult question because I understand your position and I'm looking at it from your lens, right? So, for example, I understand that you're wearing multiple hats and you're crossing boundaries when it comes to sports, politics, popular culture. I watch everything that you want. I read your book, obviously. I look at the podcast that you go and visit and you know how you talk about your life and even relationships and things like that. And so
that nigga listened to the audio book 2 days before this interview. Notice he didn't say anything specific that Stephen A said in the book, except for what Stephen A said he talked about in the book. You could Google what Stephen A's book Straight Shooter is about, and it'll give you the same synopsis Antoine Daniel said. When I read your book, you ain't getting no excuses. The boy good at his job, though. I cannot take that away from him. He fake as fuck, but he good at his goddamn job, and that's all he needs to be. Doesn't matter how fake I think he is or how fake anybody else think he is. He good at his job. I can't take that away from him.
You're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because I believe that one of the reasons why you are so successful is that you're able to navigate through all of these different lenses while at the same time not alienating anybody in particular. To answer your question with that context, I would push you to be 100% hardcore Republican and standing on that because I think that it's the right thing to do and I think it's the true representation of what Black people originally are. We are a party, we originally from the Republican Party, right? We are conservative people. Everything that we do, from the way that we live our lives to the money that we make and even how it is.
The way who live our lives, because Black people aren't a monolith, sir. Like if we was to say one of the ways we live our lives, we stunt and spend money frivolously. That's not conservative at all, sir. That's wasteful. But continue.
that we raise our children. We are supposed to be a conservative people. So if you're asking me what I would tell you to do from a moral perspective, I would say to lean more into conservatism and to be a Republican. If you're asking me what I would tell you to do as far as making sure that you impact the most people
What's going
possible,
on, Lance?
especially whatever your future prospects is, I'm hearing that you're thinking about Mullen running for office one day, then I would tell you to continue to do exactly what you're doing. But it depends on the path that you're trying to take long term.
Great answer. Look, my man, I appreciate the time.
I fuck with both of them, although I disagree with them a lot. I disagree with them a lot. I mean, I disagree with them a lot, and I agree with them on some things. But I fuck with both of them. They good at what they do.
A great conversation. Glad to finally meet you. I appreciate your work, even when you're getting on me.
I'm getting you on my show, Stephen.
Yo, it's done. It's done. You say it, I'll be there.
These are some more people that's pretty much telling you it's business. It's not all about the money without just saying, Antoine will tell you it's about the money. He said, I want to help who I can, influence who I can, and make as much money as I can. That's what it's about. And Steve and they were like, shit, I grinded hard to get to the money. And shit, I ain't gonna let politics stop me from keeping me getting this money. I can respect it.
You have my word.
Listen, hold on, but before we go, man, you are truly a legend. Real talk. And I believe in giving people their flowers. The same way that you give other people their flowers, you deserve your flowers. I think you are incredibly underrated. You worked your butt off. Nobody handed it to you. And more importantly, you broke barriers.
Now, I can't wait for Antoine Daines to have him on the show. It's probably going to be, since they've already done an interview, it's probably going to be a little more laid back and more shit talking going on in the next installment, since they're familiar with each other now.
And you opened up the doors, and when you see all of these people doing some of the same things and they're trying to follow in your footsteps, whether they're former athletes or if it's people that just want to get into some of the same spaces, you are the blueprint, and you should be celebrated today, not 10 years from now, not 15 years from now, not 20 years from now. I don't care.
Well, they call Stephen A coon too. I don't know why, but yeah, they call him a coon. Well, I know why they call him a coon, because he criticizes black women like Jasmine Crockett and Sage Steele and them from time to time. That's why he a coon and a sellout.
What they say about you as far as the people that may not care for you or like you, you are truly a trailblazer, and you deserve every single dollar, if not more, than you making right now. And you deserve your flowers today, bro.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, man. It really means a lot to me. And I'm glad to finally meet you. And I am coming on your show. When you call,
Absolutely.
I will be there. Whether it's here, if I'm in Detroit, because it does look like I might have to get to
I'm about to go to the Lakers game in a minute.
The Lakers game? Well, yeah. I'm
gonna be courtside watching.
I'm back and forth
There go the stunt. I'm gonna be courtside watching the Lakers
between New York and LA, so we can definitely get together.
Cade Cunningham is out, nigga. Detroit ain't finna do shit.
Just check with me. I'm happy.
Okay, cool.
Bro. I got you that.
All right, my friend.
Appreciate you.
Love you, bro.
Thank you, man. All the best.
All right, y'all. I enjoyed the interaction between the two. I enjoyed it. I did. I agree with Antoine quite a few times on here. I've said some of the things he said before. Yeah, it was very interesting though. Nice little dialogue. They both needed their distraction though, because the internet been wearing their ass out with other shit, so this at least gave them a moment to talk about something else. But all right, y'all. That's all I got for right now. When I come back live later on, I'm gonna be with the fuck shit. So, but I wanted to do this one just because both of these people intrigued me, and so I did one of my boring lives. Thank y'all for joining. To the next episode, little channel, big voice. I'm out. Low key, niggas hating cause they don't want no beef. State gang, true sippers, bitch, I bet we don't eat.